Alex Coleman stood at the viewing window of the Galactic Council station. The vastness of space stretched before him, stars twinkling against the darkness. Behind him, voices rose in heated debate, none of them human. After 10 years as Earth's ambassador, he had grown used to being ignored. The human request is denied, announced High Counselor Zix, a tall, blue-skinned Virixian. This council finds that Earth has not yet reached sufficient evolutionary maturity for full voting rights. Alex closed his eyes. This was the 5th time. 5 years of preparing evidence, building alliances, and making concessions, all for nothing. The other 26 species had made their decision long before today's session. "May I address the council one final time?" Alex asked, his voice steady despite his anger. The High Counselor waved a 3-fingered hand. "The human may speak briefly. The vote is concluded." Alex walked to the center of the circular chamber. Alien eyes watched him from all sides, some with pity, others with contempt, a few with genuine sadness. For 50 years, humans have honored every agreement we've made with this council. We've shared our art, our resources, our medicines. We've fought alongside you against the Void Swarm. We've taken in refugees from the Proxima disaster. Alex paused, making eye contact with representatives who had once thanked him for Earth's help. "Yet you treat us as children. You tax our colonies at triple the rate of others. You restrict our ships. You allow the Virixians to steal our colony on Taw Ceti with no consequences." The Virixian representatives hissed. One rose to speak, but Alex continued. "This isn't about evolutionary maturity. It's about fear. Humans advanced in 2 centuries what took most of you millennia. We adapt too quickly for your comfort." The chamber erupted in shouts. The High Counselor banged his ceremonial staff. "You have overstepped, Ambassador Coleman. This session is adjourned." Alex nodded once and walked out of the chamber. His assistant, Ben Murray, hurried after him. "That was quite a speech, sir," Ben said. "It was my last one here," Alex replied. 2 hours later, Alex sat in his office, composing his report to Earth. The door chimed, and Tala, a representative from the Arcturus Collective, entered. Her crystalline form caught the light as she moved. "Ambassador Coleman, I came to express my regret at today's vote. Many of us disagree with the Council's decision." Alex offered her a seat, but not enough to change the outcome. "The old powers control too many votes," she said. "Some of us smaller species understand your frustration. I appreciate that, Tala. But appreciation doesn't help our colonists on Taw Ceti, who are now under Virixian rule." After Tala left, Alex finished his report and sent it through the quantum channel to Earth. Then he waited. The response came faster than he expected. A private message from President Kate Miller herself. "Alex, I've consulted with the Joint Chiefs and the Senate Committee. Your assessment matches our intelligence. The Council will never treat us as equals. Prepare for Protocol Omega. Earth is withdrawing from the Galactic Council. Effective immediately." Alex read the message twice. This was unprecedented. No species had ever withdrawn from the Council in its 300-year history. He composed his acknowledgement with shaking hands, then called Ben into his office. "Contact all human diplomatic staff and registered citizens in Council space. Priority Alpha." Ben's eyes widened. "Sir, we're leaving. All of us. And I need to draft a withdrawal speech that the Council will never forget." That night, as Alex worked on his final address to the Council, news arrived that made his task easier. The Virixians had moved beyond Taw Ceti, attacking a second human colony at Epsilon Indi. 17,000 human lives lost because the Council refused to restrain their most powerful member. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn that humans had run out of patience. Diplomacy had failed. Now, they would see what happened when humans decided to stand alone. The news spread through the Galactic Council station like wildfire. Humans were leaving. Not just their ambassador, but all humans. Every diplomat, trader, scientist and tourist, had 24 hours to pack their belongings. Ryan Peters, who had replaced Alex as Earth's speaker for this final address, straightened his uniform. Unlike Alex, who had spent years trying to build bridges, Ryan had one job: to burn them all down. The council chamber was packed. Species that normally sent junior representatives had brought their highest leaders. Even the notoriously reclusive Draconian Emperor attended, his scaled skin reflecting the chamber's blue lights. High Counselor Zix called the emergency session to order, his voice lacking its usual confidence. The council recognizes Speaker Ryan Peters of Earth. Ryan walked to the center of the room slowly, carrying no notes. He didn't need them. Every human child would memorize this speech in schools for generations to come. For 50 years, humanity extended its hand in friendship to the stars. For 50 years, you treated us as servants, not partners. Ryan's voice filled the chamber without shouting. Today that ends. He listed Earth's grievances one by one: the unfair trade agreements, the military restrictions, the 17,000 lives lost at Epsilon Indi, the denial of voting rights, the silence when Ta Ceti was taken. Earth hereby withdraws from all treaties, agreements, and relationships with the Galactic Council. We reclaim our full sovereignty effective immediately. The chamber erupted. Some species shouted threats. Others begged for private talks. A few sat in stunned silence. Any aggression against human worlds will be met with the full force of Earth's military. Any council ships entering human space without permission will be considered hostile. Ryan finished his speech in exactly 7 minutes, then walked out without answering questions. Behind him, the council dissolved into chaos. On the station's main dock, Captain Lisa Wright supervised the evacuation. Her ship, the U.S. Independence, would lead the convoy of human vessels back to Earth space. Security teams escorted groups of humans to their ships, keeping alert for potential trouble. Captain, the Arcturus representative is requesting to speak with you, reported Lieutenant Frank Campbell. Lisa sighed. I'll take it in my temporary office. Keep loading. Inside the small room that had served as a human diplomatic space for decades, Lisa found Tala waiting. The crystalline alien's usual glow seemed dimmer. Captain Wright, I bring a message from several species who wish no ill toward Earth, Tala said. I'm listening, but we're on a schedule. Not all of us agree with the Council's treatment of humans. Some of us fear what comes next. Lisa crossed her arms. That's not my concern. My job is to get our people home safely. The Council will fracture without humans, Tala said. You've become essential to galactic trade and security, whether the leadership admits it or not. They should have thought of that before letting the Varixians kill thousands of our people. Tala's crystalline form dimmed further. Will you at least accept private communications from friendly species? That's for our government to decide, Lisa answered. But I'll pass along your request. After Tala left, Lisa returned to the dock. Nearly all humans were aboard their ships now. Staff were destroying sensitive materials and equipment they couldn't take. Lisa's communicator beeped. Captain, Varixian ships are moving toward the station. Are they in weapons range? Not yet, but their course is aggressive. Lisa nodded. Finish loading. I want all ships ready to jump in 30 minutes. As Lisa boarded the Independence, she glanced back at the giant space station. For 50 years, humans had tried to belong here. They had bent over backward to please the older species. No more. The Independence's engines hummed to life. On the command deck, Lisa gave the order to the entire human fleet. All ships prepare for synchronized jump to Earth space. The stars stretched and blurred as the human ships accelerated to faster-than-light speed, leaving the Galactic Council behind. What none of the aliens realized yet was that humans weren't just going home. They were about to change the galaxy forever. 6 months had passed since Earth's dramatic exit from the Galactic Council. The initial shock had faded, replaced by a new reality that few alien species had prepared for. Daniel Kelly stared at the holographic trade routes displayed in Earth's Strategic Command Center. As Chief Trade Officer, he had spent these months completely rebuilding humanity's economic connections. The glowing blue lines showed the new pattern of human commerce, all of it flowing away from Council space. The Free Systems Alliance is officially formed, Daniel announced to the room of officials. Earth, Proxima, Arcturus, and Novan's signatures are confirmed. President Kate Miller nodded with satisfaction. How many species have applied to join? 11 so far, Daniel replied. Most are smaller worlds the Council ignored. But the Zithrak sent their application this morning. A murmur spread through the room. The Zithrak controlled the galaxy's richest mining operations. Their metal and rare minerals built the Council's ships and stations. The Zithrak ambassador is waiting to speak with you, Daniel added. She says it's urgent. In the diplomatic meeting room, Ambassador Grella of the Zithrak sat uncomfortably in a chair designed for humans. Her rocky skin and massive frame made her look more like a small mountain than a person. President Miller, Grella rumbled, my government wishes to join your alliance immediately, not through the normal application process. Kate raised an eyebrow. That's unusual, Ambassador. May I ask why? The Council has demanded we increase our exports by 40% while cutting prices. Grella's stone-like face showed no expression, but her voice hardened. When we refused, they threatened military action. And now you seek our protection, Kate said. We seek fair partners, Grella corrected. The Zithrak have watched Earth's actions closely. You've created trade deals that benefit both sides. You've shared technology instead of hoarding it. This is the future we want. Kate smiled. Welcome to the Alliance, Ambassador. Meanwhile, on the Council homeworld Centauri Prime, the Economic Council met in emergency session. Reports from across Council space painted a grim picture. Agriculture production has fallen 18%, reported a green-skinned Proximan who had remained loyal to the Council. Without human farming worlds, food prices have doubled in 3 months. Entertainment sectors are collapsing, added another representative. Human creative works accounted for 60% of media consumption. High Councilor Zix slammed his fist on the table. Surely we can replace human goods. They are just one species. An aide whispered in his ear. Zix's blue skin paled. What do you mean the Zithrak have joined the Human Alliance? He hissed. Across the room, the Varixian delegation exchanged worried glances. Without Zithrak metals, their military expansion would halt. Back on Earth, Daniel Kelly worked late into the night. His team had created alternative supply chains for every resource humans used to get from Council space. It hadn't been easy, but humanity's legendary adaptability had prevailed. His assistant entered with fresh data. Sir, Council world economies are showing significant stress. 3 more systems have requested trade talks with us outside Council channels. Daniel nodded. And our economic forecasts. Growth across all human sectors. The new Alliance trade agreement has opened markets we never had access to before. Daniel looked again at the holographic map. The glowing lines of trade were like a web, connecting Earth to dozens of worlds that had been overlooked or mistreated by the Council. They thought we needed them more than they needed us, he said quietly. That was their first mistake. On the edges of human space, the first joint human-alien military patrols began their routes. Unlike the Council's unequal protection agreements, Alliance defense pacts gave equal responsibilities to all members. As reports of Council economic troubles grew, President Miller addressed her cabinet. Phase 1 is complete. Now we move to Phase 2. The information war was about to begin. Commander Samantha White stood in front of her team in a secure room deep below Earth's North American Defense Center. On the screens surrounding them, lines of alien code flowed endlessly. After 3 months of work, they were ready. Today we launch Operation Truth, she told the 20 specialists seated before her. For 50 years, the Council has kept secrets from their own people. That ends now. Samantha had once been a simple code breaker. Now she led the most important information mission in human history. Her team had quietly gathered data for years, even while Earth was still in the Council. They found security flaws, copied files, and mapped the Council's protected networks. Each of you has your targets, Samantha continued. Remember, we don't change any data. We only make it visible to those who were never allowed to see it. Fingers flew across keyboards. Quantum algorithms broke through alien firewalls. Old access codes from friendly species opened backdoors. Within hours, restricted Council archives began appearing on public networks across hundreds of worlds. Not all at once, but in a carefully planned sequence designed for maximum impact. On Centauri Prime, citizens saw proof that their leaders had deliberately blocked medical technology that could have saved millions of lives because it came from lesser species. On Virixian worlds, military plans to invade not just human colonies but worlds of their own allies became public. Council voting records showed how major decisions had been predetermined years in advance, making a mockery of their democratic claims. High Councilor Zix was in his private chamber when an aide burst in without announcement. "Counselor, we're under attack. Council networks across all systems are compromised." Zix rushed to the Council's emergency session. Representatives shouted over each other in panic. "The humans are behind this," accused the Virixian leader. "Your own people are downloading the files faster than anyone," countered the Draconian ambassador, "perhaps because they show you plan to attack us next year." As accusations flew, Zix struggled to restore order. "We will find who released these lies and—" "They are not lies," interrupted the Novan representative. "I recognize these documents. I helped write some of them before my species left your council." Back on Earth, Samantha watched the chaos unfold. President Miller joined her in the control room. "Phase 2 is working better than we hoped," Samantha reported. 3 more species have announced they're leaving the Council: the Draconians, the Centauri Outer Colonies, and the Rigelian Network. President Miller studied the feeds. "What about the Council's countermeasures?" "They're trying to claim the documents are fake, but we included authentication codes. And they can't shut down their own networks without paralyzing their economies." On dozens of worlds, protests filled streets and public spaces. Species that had been told for centuries that the Council existed to protect them now saw the truth. It existed to keep power in the hands of a few dominant species. A small ship docked at Earth's orbital station. Ambassador Tala of the Arcturus Collective, now a founding member of the Alliance, brought news. "The Council emergency session collapsed into chaos," she told President Miller. "The Virixian delegation was physically attacked by the Draconians. Security forces had to separate them." "And what of the neutral worlds?" Miller asked. "Many are requesting emergency meetings with Alliance representatives. They fear being caught in the middle of what comes next." Samantha received an update from her team. "Madam President, we've detected Virixian military vessels moving toward Alliance space. They appear to be in attack formation." President Miller nodded calmly. This had been expected. "Inform Admiral Carter. The Virixians were always going to lash out when cornered. Now they've given us the excuse we needed for Phase 3. As emergency alerts sounded across Alliance worlds, humanity prepared for the next stage of their plan. The information war had done its job. Now would come the test of steel and fire. Admiral John Carter stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defender, watching as his fleet moved into position. 37 human ships formed a protective line around Haven, an Alliance outpost near the border of Virixian space. Intelligence reports confirmed that 22 Virixian warships were approaching fast. "All ships report ready," Admiral said his second-in-command, Captain Laura Foster. John nodded. For years, the Council had forced restrictions on human military technology. What the Virixians would face today was technology the Council had never seen. "Open a channel to all Alliance vessels," John ordered. When the communication line opened, he spoke clearly. "This is Admiral Carter. We are here to defend Alliance territory. Follow assigned formations. Remember your training. Today we show the galaxy what happens when someone attacks our allies." The crew worked with quiet efficiency as sensors tracked the approaching Virixian fleet. The enemy ships were larger, with heavier armor and weapons that had dominated galactic warfare for centuries. Virixian fleet dropping out of faster-than-light travel, reported the sensor officer. They'll be in weapons range in 3 minutes. John activated the secured channel to President Miller on Earth. Madam President, enemy forces have arrived. Permission to execute Operation Shield. Miller's face was calm on the screen. Permission granted. Admiral. Good hunting. The Virixian commander sent a message demanding immediate surrender of the outpost. John ignored it. As the Virixian ships moved into firing position, John gave a simple command: deploy swarm units. From each human ship, hundreds of small drones launched into space. The Virixians, expecting traditional ship-to-ship combat, seemed confused by the tiny objects. Swarm units in position, reported Laura. All systems green. John took a deep breath. Activate quantum disruption field. A flash of energy pulsed from the swarm units. On the Virixian ships, weapons systems suddenly went offline. Their shields flickered and failed. Forward vessels, advance, John ordered. 3 human ships moved ahead, firing precision weapons that the Council had never seen. They targeted engines and weapon mounts, disabling rather than destroying when possible. The Virixian fleet tried to regroup, but their communication systems were also affected by the disruption field. Their formation fell apart as individual captains tried different tactics. They're attempting to send a distress signal to their home base, Laura reported. John nodded. Let them. I want the entire galaxy to see this. Within 30 minutes, half the Virixian fleet was disabled. The remaining ships began to retreat, only to find human vessels had circled behind them. They're sending a surrender signal, Laura said, surprised. Accept it, John replied. Inform them they must withdraw from all contested territories immediately. Back on Earth, Susan Green, the military analyst for Alliance Command, was briefing President Miller and her cabinet on the battle. The Virixians never stood a chance, Susan explained. Our quantum disruption technology neutralized their advantages. But more importantly, this victory sends a message to the entire galaxy. President Miller studied the battle data. And what message is that? That humans weren't holding back our military technology because we had to, Susan said. We were holding back because we chose to. The Council's restrictions never actually limited what we could build. Reports from across the galaxy flooded in. The Virixian defeat was being broadcast on every world. Former Council species were reassessing their military positions, suddenly worried about what other technologies humans might have concealed. On the Defender, Admiral Carter received congratulations from Alliance leaders. But he felt no joy in the victory, only relief that they had minimized casualties. Captain Foster, set course for Haven Outpost, he ordered. We need to help with repairs and show our allies that we protect what's ours. As the human fleet regrouped, messages arrived from 3 more species requesting to join the Alliance. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted in a single day, and on Centauri Prime, the remaining Council members gathered in emergency session, finally ready to discuss terms with the humans they had underestimated for so long. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, once a symbol of unity and power, now stood half-empty. Where representatives of 27 species once sat, only 12 remained. The others had either joined the Alliance or declared neutrality. High Counselor Zix had resigned in disgrace after the release of files showing his personal wealth came from bribes. His replacement, a nervous Centaurian named Voss, struggled to maintain order. We must present a united front against the human threat, shouted the new Virixian representative, trying to hide the shame of their military defeat. The humans are not the threat, countered the Rigelian speaker. Your species attacked them first. Twice. Perhaps we should consider opening formal negotiations with the Alliance, suggested another member. The Virixian slammed his fist down. Never. They must be punished for their defiance. As arguments erupted, Eric Patterson, Earth's newly appointed diplomatic envoy sat in a different meeting room aboard the neutral space station Omega. Unlike the Council's grand chamber, this room was small and practical. Around him sat representatives from individual species who had requested private talks with humans. Earth is willing to establish bilateral agreements with any peaceful species, Eric explained to the Draconian ambassador. But we will not return to the Council system. The Draconian, a reptilian being with iridescent scales, nodded slowly. Our people have reviewed the data your Commander White released. We were unaware of how the Council manipulated even powerful members like us. On a nearby screen, Eric could see reports of new conflicts breaking out between former Council allies. The Proxim and Outer Colonies had declared war on their former rulers in the Inner System. The Altair Confederation and the Sirius Republic now fought over a resource-rich asteroid belt that both claimed. Without the Council's enforced peace, old grievances resurfaced quickly. But unlike the Council, humans weren't rushing to impose their own version of order. Back on Earth, President Miller addressed the Alliance Leadership Council, now representing 12 species. We did not create this alliance to replace one empire with another, she told the gathered ambassadors. Each world maintains its sovereignty. We coordinate rather than control. Grilla of the Zithrak spoke next. The old council calls us traitors, but my people's minds have never been more productive. Fair trade benefits everyone. Reports arrived hourly of more species requesting membership in the alliance. Each was considered carefully, with background checks to ensure they shared the alliance's values of equality and fair representation. On Centauri Prime, the council headquarters now sat mostly unused. Maintenance robots cleaned empty hallways where diplomats once walked. The council's famous gardens, once tended by master botanists from a dozen worlds, began to wither from neglect. Eric Patterson received an urgent message from his assistant. The Virixian-led faction of the Council had declared the Alliance illegal and called for sanctions against any world that traded with Alliance members. How many species signed this declaration? Eric asked. Only 4, his assistant replied. The others abstained or opposed it. Eric allowed himself a small smile. So much for their united front. That evening, Eric met with Tala of the Arcturus Collective. Their crystalline species had been among the first to join the alliance. The Virixians are preparing for another military action, Tala warned. They cannot accept their diminished status. Eric nodded. We know. Admiral Carter has positioned our fleets accordingly. It is strange, Tala said, her crystalline form catching the light. For centuries, the Council claimed to maintain peace. Yet now that it falls, true cooperation emerges. As they spoke, the Alliance expanded its humanitarian efforts to worlds suffering from the economic disruption. Ships carrying food, medicine, and supplies departed from Earth and other Alliance worlds daily. Unlike the Council's aid, which came with political demands, Alliance help had no strings attached. The galaxy was learning that humans had a different vision of how spacefaring species should interact, not through dominance, but through true partnership. 1 year had passed since Earth withdrew from the Galactic Council. On this historic day, representatives from over 40 species gathered on neutral ground, a beautiful space station orbiting an uninhabited world. They came to witness what many had thought impossible: the official dissolution of the Galactic Council. The few remaining council members had finally accepted reality. With most species either in the Alliance or operating independently, the 300-year-old institution had become an empty shell. President Kate Miller stood on the observation deck, watching as ships from across the galaxy arrived for the ceremony. Beside her stood Alex Coleman, the former ambassador whose reports had started this journey. "Did you ever imagine this day would come?" Kate asked him. Alex shook his head. "I only wanted fair treatment for Earth. I never planned to change the entire galaxy." "Sometimes the best revolutions are the ones no one planned," she replied. Below them in the main hall, the dissolution ceremony proceeded with little fanfare. The last High Counselor, Voss, signed the document ending the Council's authority. There was no cheering, no celebration, only a quiet acknowledgement that one era had ended and another had begun. Later that day, President Miller addressed the people of Earth via global broadcast. Citizens gathered in homes and public squares to hear her speak. 1 year ago, Earth took a step into the unknown, she began. We withdrew from a system that treated us as second-class citizens. Today, that system no longer exists. She explained how the galaxy was reorganizing into regional associations based on shared interests rather than dominated by a central authority. Our strategy worked, but new challenges lie ahead, she continued. Some former Council hardliners still refuse to accept the new reality. Resources must be fairly distributed to worlds suffering from economic disruption. New diplomatic frameworks must be established. She ended with a call to action. Earth started this change. Now we must help guide it toward justice and stability. Across the galaxy, Dr. Andrew Phillips led a team of human and alien medical workers on Proxima IV, a world devastated by conflict after the Council's collapse. They treated injured civilians in a field hospital set up in what was once a grand plaza. We need more regenerative tissue on the East Wing, Andrew called to his assistant. The burn victims are still coming in. A tall draconian doctor worked alongside him, treating species she would have considered enemies just a year earlier. Your medicine works better than anything the Council ever provided us, she told Andrew. That's because they deliberately held back advanced treatments from most worlds, he replied. The Alliance shares everything. In a hidden base deep in former Virixian territory, a small group of officers from various Council species met in secret. Admiral Krav of the Virixians presided over the gathering. The humans have destroyed centuries of order and tradition, he hissed. We must restore the proper hierarchy. With what forces? Asked a former Council security chief. Our fleets are diminished, and many of our own people support the humans' vision. We have loyalists on 20 worlds, Krav insisted. We will build our strength and strike when they least expect it. None of them noticed the small drone in the corner of the room, quietly recording their plans. Back at Alliance headquarters, Eric Patterson reviewed the intelligence report from the drone. It seems not everyone has accepted the new reality, he told President Miller. She studied the faces of the conspirators. Monitor them closely, but take no action yet. The Alliance won't strike first. As the day ended, representatives from 17 former Council worlds submitted formal requests to join the Alliance. Each application came with promises to uphold the principles of equality and fair representation. The old power was dying, but some still clung to it desperately. The battle for the galaxy's future wasn't over. It had simply entered a new phase. 5 years had passed since the dissolution of the Galactic Council. The Great Hall on New Terra, a neutral planet, hummed with activity as representatives from over 50 species gathered for a historic occasion. Today marked the official founding of the Galactic Federation, a true democracy of worlds. Ambassador Nicole Rodriguez of Earth stood at the center of the chamber, her gray-streaked hair pulled back neatly. As the representative of the species that had started this revolution, she had been chosen to speak first. 5 years ago, we faced a choice, she began, her voice carrying through the hall. Accept second-class status in an unfair system, or step away and build something better. Today, we see the results of that choice. Around the room, beings of all shapes and sizes listened. Some had tentacles, others scales, while a few existed as pure energy contained in special suits. All were equal members with equal votes in the new federation. The path was not easy, Nicole continued. We faced economic hardship, military threats, and the chaos that comes with rapid change. But we persevered because we shared a vision, a galaxy where no species dominates another. She raised a hand toward the former Virixian territories, now divided into 3 independent systems after their failed attempt to restore the old order. Even those who once sought to control others now seek readmission to galactic affairs. The Virixian representative, once proud and intimidating, now sat quietly in the observer section. Their application to join the Federation was still pending, conditional on reparations for past aggression and constitutional reforms, guaranteeing equal rights to all species within their territory. After the ceremony, Captain Paul Martinez led the first patrol of the new Federation peacekeeping force. His ship, the Unity, carried crew members from 17 different species. Unlike the old Council forces, which were segregated by species, the new fleet integrated all members. Course set for the Regelian border, reported his Zithrak navigation officer. Paul nodded. Proceed at standard speed. We're not just showing the flag. We're showing the galaxy what cooperation looks like. The Unity's mission was simple: protect trade routes, respond to distress calls, and demonstrate that the Federation's protective reach extended to all members equally. On Earth, historian Jason Kelly put the finishing touches on his new book, The Diplomatic Rebellion: How Humanity Changed the Galaxy. Interest in the events of the past 5 years had spread across worlds, with many species eager to understand how such a massive change had occurred so quickly. Jason's research had taken him from Earth's highest offices to the farthest colony worlds. He had interviewed everyone from President Millard to ordinary citizens caught up in the transformation. The true human legacy wasn't our military strength or economic power, Jason wrote in his conclusion. It was our vision of a more just society, and our willingness to risk everything for that vision. At the Federation's new headquarters, the Council of Equals held its first official meeting. Unlike the hierarchical structure of the old council, each representative sat at a round table with no position of prominence. Decisions required 2/3 majority, rather than the control of a few powerful species. Nicole Rodriguez presented Earth's proposal for a galaxy-wide education exchange. Knowledge should flow freely between all worlds, she explained. The old council restricted education to maintain power. We will share it to build understanding. The proposal passed unanimously. As news of the Federation's founding spread across the galaxy, celebrations erupted on hundreds of worlds. Species that had been enemies for centuries now found common ground. Trade flourished without the Council's heavy taxes. Scientific advancement accelerated as researchers shared discoveries openly. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution wasn't technology or military might. It was proving that sometimes walking away from a broken system is the first step toward building something better. By refusing to accept the status quo, humans had changed the course of galactic history, and the stars shone brighter for it.